This meeting is being recorded.
Right, and I'm going to share my screen so that we can go ahead and start reading. All right, I need to move this out of the way. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I don't have, what did I do here? Let's see. Okay. I need to move my tab over to the left so that I can grab it when I share my screen. All these little things you learn when you're doing Zoom meetings. Okay, now I can share my screen. And I can, yeah, we're all set to go. All right, so forgiveness for salvation. Forgiveness for salvation has one form and only one. It does not ask for proof of innocence, nor pay of any kind. It does not argue nor evaluate the errors that it wants to overlook. It does not offer gifts and treachery, nor promise freedom while it asks for death. Would God deceive you? He asks for trust and willingness to learn how to be free. He gives his teacher to whoever asks and seeks to understand the will of God. His readiness to give lies far beyond your understanding and your simple grasp. Yet he has willed you learn the way to him, and in his willing, there is certainty. You, child of God, the gifts of God are yours, not by your plans, but by his holy will. His voice will teach you what forgiveness is and how to give it as he wills it be. Do not then seek to understand what is beyond you yet, but let it be a way to draw you up to where the eyes of Christ become the sight you choose. Give up all else, for there is nothing else. When someone calls for help in any form, he is the one to answer for you. All that you need do is to step back and not interfere. Forgiveness for salvation is his task, and it is he who will respond for you. Do not establish what the form should be that Christ's forgiveness takes. He knows the way to make of every call a help to you, as you arise in haste to go at last unto your Father's house. Now can he make your footsteps sure, your words sincere, not with your own sincerity, but with his own. Let him take charge of how you would forgive, and each occasion then will be to you another step to heaven and to peace. Are you not weary of imprisonment? God did not choose this sorry path for you. What you have chosen still can be undone, for prayer is merciful and God is just. His is a justice he can understand, but you cannot as yet. Still, will he give the means to you to learn of him and know at last that condemnation is not real and makes illusions in its evil name. And yet it matters not the form that dreams may seem to take. Illusions are untrue. God's will is truth. And you are one with him in will and purpose. Here, all dreams are done. What should I do for him, your holy Son? Should be the only thing you ever ask when help is needed and forgiveness sought. The form the seeking takes you need not judge. And let it not be you who sets the form in which forgiveness comes to save God's Son. The light of Christ in him is his release, and it is this that answers to his call. Forgive him as the Christ decides you should, and be his eyes through which you look on him and speak for him as well. He knows the need, the question, and the answer. He will say exactly what to do in words that you can understand and you can also use. Do not confuse his function with your own. He is the answer. You, the one who hears. And what is it he speaks to you about? About salvation and the gift of peace, about the end of sin and guilt and death, about the role forgiveness has in him. Do you but listen? For he will be heard by anyone who calls upon his name and places his forgiveness in his hands. Forgiveness has been given him to teach, to save it from destruction and to make the means for separation, sin, and death become again the holy gift of God. Prayer is his own right hand, made free to save, as true forgiveness is allowed to come from his eternal vigilance and love. Listen and learn and do not judge. It is to God you turn to hear what you should do. His answer will be clear as morning, nor is his forgiveness what you think it is. Still, does he know, and that should be enough. Forgiveness has a teacher who will fail in nothing. Rest a while in this. Do not attempt to judge forgiveness, nor to set it in an earthly frame. Let it arise to Christ, who welcomes it as gift to him. He will not leave you comfortless, nor fail to send his angels down to answer you in his own name. He stands beside the door to which forgiveness is the only key. Give it to him to use instead of you, and you will see the door swing silently open upon the shining face of Christ. Behold your brother, there beyond the door, Son of God, as he created him. That was really good. It kind of takes all the pressure off, right? You don't need to know what to do, what to say, or to whom, right? You just give it all to him.
Kind of like some of the answers of what we were talking about before.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, it does. Certainly does. But we forget, right? We think we have the answers. We think we know what to do.
No, we don't think we have the answers.
Right.
And what am I going to do?
Right. Right. But I know when I get in that situation, I think I have an answer. It's like, oh, I know. This is the answer. And it's like, no.
Every time I evaluate any of my answers, it's like, no, that's not going to work.
Or you do something and you're like, why didn't that work? I don't understand. I did all the right things. I said all the right words.
Yeah.
I felt the way I should feel about it. It's like, oh, because it's not my place to do it. It's not mine to do.
Yet if you find yourself defending your solutions, you're in real trouble.
They aren't solutions to begin with.
Yeah,
That's
true.
right. That is true. Good to have you here, Tim. I see Carla has joined. Great to have you guys here. So this is the end of the section on forgiveness. Does anybody have anything they want to share before we continue to healing? Not yet? Okay. Let's go ahead and carry on. Next section, healing, introduction. Prayer has both aids and witnesses, which make the steep ascent more gentle, and more sure, easing the pain of fear and offering the comfort and the promise of hope. Forgiveness, witness, and an aid to prayer, a giver of assurance of success in ultimate attainment of the goal, is healing. Its importance should not be too strongly emphasized, for healing is a sign or a symbol of forgiveness's strength, and only an effect or shadow of a change of mind about the goal of prayer. That's interesting, right? It's just the effect or the shadow of forgiveness. Any comments before I keep going? Right. Next section. The cause of sickness. Do not mistake effect for cause, nor think that sickness is apart and separate from what its cause must be. It is a sign, a shadow of an evil thought that seems to have reality and to be just according to the usage of the world. It is external proof of inner sins and witnesses to unforgiving thoughts that injure and would hurt the Son of God. Healing the body is impossible, and this is shown by the brief nature of the cure. The body yet must die, and so its healing but delays its turning back to dust, where it was born and will return. The body's cause is unforgiveness of the Son of God. It has not left its source, and in its pain and aging and the mark of death upon it, this is clearly shown. Fearful and frail, it seems to be, to those who think their life is tied to its command and linked to its unstable tiny breath. Death stares at them as every moment goes irrevocably past their grasping hands, which cannot hold them back. And they feel fear as bodies change and sicken, for they sense the heavy scent of death upon their hearts. The body can be healed as an effect of true forgiveness. Only that can give remembrance of immortality, which is the gift of holiness and love. Forgiveness must be given by a mind which understands that it must overlook all shadows on the holy face of Christ, among which sickness should be seen as one. Nothing but that, the sign of judgment made by brother upon brother, and the Son of God upon himself. For he has damned his body as his prison and forgot that it is he who gave this role to it. What he has done now must God's Son undo, but not alone, for he has thrown away the prison's key, his holy sinlessness, and the remembrance of his Father's love. Yet help is given to him in the voice his Father placed in him. The power to heal is now his Father's gift, for through his voice, he still can reach his Son, reminding him the body may become his chosen home, but it will never be his home in truth. Distinctions, therefore, must be made between true healing and its faulty counterpart. The world of opposites is healing's place. For what in heaven could there be to heal? As prayer within the world can ask amiss and seeming charity forgive to kill, so healing can be false as well as true, a witness to the power of the world or to the everlasting love of God. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, Any thoughts about that? Any comments? Faults versus the cause of sickness.
That last paragraph is a bit tricky, and I'm not seeing something there. Distinctions therefore must be made between true healing and its faulty counterpart. Well, there it is, the first sentence.
Mhm.
We think we heal the body. We think we heal, all of our differences seeming differences between each other. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yep, I think you're right.
I think it's more on that we focus on that as healing. We look at the body and say, oh, I don't have a broken arm anymore. It's healed. But it's kind of like you take a pill to mask your symptoms of, say, a headache, but you haven't really gotten to the root of why you had the headache in the first place. It's kind of the same thing with healing. We have this illusion and we're fixated on things, so we focus on the object. If the cut on your hand heals, we're like, oh, good, we healed ourselves, but didn't really, the emphasis is not on the physical, on the body. And yes, we do heal ourselves. That's the part that we don't really believe in, but the healing is of the mind, and then it manifests in our sight, if you will, but it does not have to at all, and the healing is still done.
I think too, for me, it brings me back to that time when I did that meditation and accidentally jumped into this oneness at 1 minute point. And the byproduct was my body felt completely healed. I wasn't even trying to heal anything. There was nothing really wrong with my body as far as I could tell, but I could tell immediately when that experience was over that my body was completely healed. And it was because my mind had experienced at 1 minute for a moment. And the result was the body healed. It no longer had any attributes of any type of sickness. It was light and clear and free, and it was amazing. But I think to Mary's point too, it's like, okay, I have a cold, I have to take a pill, I have to do this, I have to gargle with salt water, I have to do all this other stuff. And it's like, if you could get to that place of that 1 minute where you could just heal the mind completely, boom, it's like the body would be healed.
Yeah, I agree. I've had that experience too, where the body was just incidental. It was just almost like tagging along for the ride or something. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah.
it was, I couldn't say superfluous because the senses and the speech and all that were valuable to communicate with, others at that time and always, but that's what we have here.
Right.
But yeah, we get hooked on it, and I get the pressure from my children. Oh, Dad, you need to go to this doctor, and well, if they didn't find out, then you need to go to this one. And I'm going, oh my God, you know what? In another whatever years, this guy is not going to be here. I'm going to be free of whatever little stuff I'm going through. So it's like that inner sense that I'm not this, although I forget, but it's always there.
Yeah.
It's always, you can't, but what's you put it well, Terry, once you experience that, I mean, just one time, it only takes one time. And then it's like everything is now measured against what is measureless.
What is, the truth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I feel like I got my money's worth this morning.
Well, we're going to keep going because that's a perfect segue into our next section, which is False versus true healing. False healing merely makes a poor exchange of one illusion for a nicer one, a dream of sickness for a dream of health. This can occur at lower forms of prayer, combining with forgiveness, kindly meant, but not completely understood as yet. Only false healing can give way to fear. So, sickness will be free to strike again. False healing can indeed remove a form of pain and sickness, but the cause remains and will not lack effects. The cause is still the wish to die and overcome the Christ. And with this wish is death a certainty, for prayer is answered. Yet there is a kind of seeming death that has a different source. It does not come because of hurtful thoughts and raging anger at the universe. It merely signifies the end has come for usefulness of body functioning. And so it is discarded as a choice, as one lays by a garment now outworn. This is what death should be, a quiet choice, made joyfully and with a sense of peace, because the body has been kindly used to help the Son of God along the way he goes to God. We thank the body then for all the service it has given us, but we are thankful too the need is done to walk the world of limits and to reach the Christ in hidden forms and clearly seen at most in lovely flashes. Now we can behold him without blinders in the light that we have learned to look upon again. We call it death, but it is liberty. It does not come in forms that seem to be thrust down in pain upon unwilling flesh, but as a gentle welcome to release. If there has been true healing, this can be the form in which death comes, when it is time to rest a while from labor gladly done and gladly ended. Now we go in peace to freer air and gentler climate, where it is not hard to see the gifts we gave were saved for us. For Christ is clearer now, his vision more sustained in us, his voice, the word of God more certainly our own. This gentle passage to a higher prayer, a kind forgiveness of the ways of earth, can only be received with thankfulness. Yet first, true healing must have come to bless the mind with loving pardon for the sins it dreamt about and laid upon the world. Now are its dreams dispelled and quiet rest. Now its forgiveness comes to heal the world, and it is ready to depart in peace, the journey over and the lessons learned. This is not death according to the world, for death is cruel in its frightened eyes and takes the form of punishment for sin. How could it be a blessing then? And how could it be welcome when it must be feared? What healing has occurred in such a view of what is merely opening the gate to higher prayer and kindly justice done. Death is reward, not a punishment. But such a viewpoint must be fostered by the healing that the world cannot conceive. There is no partial healing. What but shifts all illusions has done nothing. What is false cannot be partly true. If you are healed, your healing is complete. Forgiveness is the only gift you give and would receive. False healing rests upon the body's cure, leaving the cause of illness still unchanged, ready to strike again until it brings a cruel death and seeming victory. It can be held at bay a little while, and there can be brief respite as it waits to take its vengeance on the Son of God. Yet it cannot be overcome until all faith in it has been laid by and placed upon God's substitute for evil dreams, a world in which there is no veil of sin to keep it dark and comfortless. At last, The gate of heaven opens and God's Son is free to enter in the home that stands ready to welcome him and was prepared before time was and still but waits for him.
Wow, there's a lot in there. I
Yeah, there
think of
is.
how the wholeness and completeness, knowing that you are whole and therefore complete, is the healing. The rest is just the illusion that we act upon. And that was an amazing revolution for me to actually know that totally, not just intellectually, to have experienced that. But it also talks about all of the realm of possibilities, of choices, like it used work as an example, that work is done and we're happy and relieved at that, but we're also happy that we had the opportunity to do it as well. It's all about the prayer of gratitude, if you will, for our experiences,
Yes.
without judging them necessarily as good or bad. If we judge it as bad, it's only that we haven't seen the other possibilities. We're not aware of them yet. And so you again have gratitude for the experience and ask, to be more open to the other side of the coin. But all is accepted, and in our daily life and practice, to be able to recognize and value all of the positive things, or that we deem positive, that come to us, and then be open to that, to the experiences and the lessons that we have in all of the experiences, because they're all really for our good. And you wind up just having so many instances where I say, thank you for this blessing, for this opportunity. And it's just a small change, but it has such big influences, because what you perceive, you receive, and then who you are is what you send out, and then you get back, and it magnifies. So all these rules that we kind of sort of think of in isolation all work together for our good. And then that that's a fact, and you learn to work them even more to your highest, and then that of all that you're experiencing and that is experiencing you, because it's all connected. It's all there. It's all one.
Yep. Great share. Thank you, Mary.
Well said. Yeah. I just want to comment that the one thing was that occurred to me is like there's one block that we will make really real. I mean, sometimes we'll hold on to this, and it's really sick, but it's guilt that I should have years ago, I should have done this, I should have been this way with this person, I never did, and it's such a trap. It is BS to be let go of immediately. Every time if you had a Geiger counter to detect guilt, just have to be aware, but it's absolutely useless. So anyway, so I throw that in.
I think it's interesting too, how it said, be thankful that you had the work, but also be thankful that the work is done, right? And the body's laid down just to come back again, right? I think it said, I can't remember where I saw that, but it basically said, no, that's not it. Maybe it was the part before. But we read a section that said, be thankful when, the time is ready for you to lay the body down. Lay the body down, it'll return to the ground, only to come back again. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find, and will return. Okay, it was the very first paragraph of the cause of sickness. So the last thing we read, the body yet must die, and so its healing but delays its turning back to dust where it was born and will return. Okay, so I read it wrong, I guess. Where it was born and will return to dust. So anyway, I was thinking about the point where my mother had that experience of like a near-death experience. And I know I've shared this with you guys, but before she passed when she was 61, but when she was in her early 50s, I hadn't been able to get a hold of her for a couple of days, and I went to her house and I found her lying in bed, and you know, she looked like she was dead. Her hands were hard, you know, like almost like rigor mortis had set in. I couldn't detect any breath, nothing. And I jumped up on her and started shaking her, and not even because I missed her or needed her back. It was almost like an involuntary thing that, and I wasn't upset or crying. I don't even know why I did it. I just jumped on her. I was like, mom, you know, just shaking her. And we never really talked about it that day. You know, I thought maybe I had made it up that I thought she was dead, and, you know, that she had been an alcoholic and a recluse for a long time. So maybe I thought, well, maybe she was just passed out in a deep sleep, whatever. Years later, she has cancer, and we have an opportunity to discuss death. And I'm like, well, what do you think it's going to be like? And she's like, well, I already know what it's going to be like. I'm like, how do you know? And she goes, well, you were there. What do you mean I was there? I said, you were calling me and you brought me back. And I go, and then I remembered, right? Like, oh, that's right. That moment, you know? And I said, well, what was it like? And she said, it was beautiful. She said, I was surrounded by all these beings of light that I knew, but they didn't have faces, but I knew them. And I knew I was completely loved, completely surrounded by beings of light and love, and they were just embracing me. And I said, well, why did you come back? And she goes, because you told me to. I was like, oh, shoot, sorry. You know? But I think it goes back to her work wasn't done, right? Be glad that you were able to do the work and be thankful that it's over. I think it really wasn't her time yet, because her work, she still had more work to do, which when she came back, there were so many things she healed with, you know, her children and her life and her ideas about life. And, you know, it was like a complete change in her personality when she came back from that experience. But, you know, it makes you realize that, wow, there's just so much more that we don't understand. Like this thing that we have here, this life that we think we're experiencing, it's just really a playground, right? For our souls to evolve, I guess, and to really understand the truth of who we are, and go back and make that choice. At some point, we made the choice to separate, which is why we're all here, part of this illusion. And we have to go through this learning process to get back to the truth, which I guess apparently never ended. But somehow the mind has been split in a way that it doesn't know that we're still there. So
I have a minister. She's in a home in Houston, Texas now, and she went through some just horrible things. Several of us from our other class knew her here in Tallahassee, and so she ends up, long story short, ends up in a different place with a couple of roommates, and she's still, you know, just really missing her physical abilities and even her mental abilities. But it's now she has these two other women, and she told one of our members, Ted, that, well, I'm just going to minister to them. And I went, perfect. Look at how it works out. She's not alone anymore. She has these roommates now that she can help out. So anyway, it's a great story. I got to check on her and see how she's doing.
yeah, that is a good story. Yeah. Death is interesting, isn't it? Like the death of the body, the passing of the body, how it goes, what the experience is like. And it just keeps teaching us again and again and again. You know, Bo's, my son and daughter's grandmother just passed a couple days ago. She had Alzheimer's and dementia and had been in a assisted living home for years. And they said they went to check on her and she just, must have passed during the night. And, wonder about that, like, so what happened? And here's the odd thing about that. She passed on my mother's birthday. Coincidence? I don't know. Maybe my mother came down and was like, okay, this is enough. You're coming with me. You spend enough time in this shell. I'm going to get you out of here. I'm going to break you out of this joint. But who knows?
I'm rather looking forward to it. Not in a morbid way, but I'm looking forward to just passing this illusion on.
Right?
Yeah.
To move on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can sense that too. Well, we got a lot of work to do here. There's a lot of people that are just really miserable that have no idea. Absolutely none. They just feel completely trapped. There's no way out. Nothing. And that's what we have to be able to share that. We have to have I think that's where we have to really listen. We can't approach somebody and assume that we know what they need to hear. I think that's where he talks about just be still, just be receptive, and I'll give you those words.
I think too, the interesting part of that, Tim, is I think that's how we see the world most of the time. But then if you listen to what the Course is saying, your brother is giving you the gift. It's not up to you to change their mind or heal them of their wrong thinking. It's your thinking, right, that needs to be healed, and they're there to give you the gift, right? But I'm with you. I think too.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say to that is we don't have to do anything if we are that. Just that state of being speaks for itself. The more you think or you have obligation or you're still in ego trying to touch that higher self. That higher self naturally in its being affects all things because it is all things.
Right.
Good.
Yep. I am all of those people that I'm thinking aren't getting it.
Including myself.
Right. Of course.
We're laughing. It's a good sign.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's keep going because we have a couple more sections, or is it just one more section? And then it'll give us a chance to talk and finish this. Okay, next section. Separation versus union. False healing heals the body in a part, but never as a whole. Its separate goals become quite clear in this, for it has not removed the curse of sin that lies on it. Therefore, it still deceives. Nor is it made by one who understands the other is exactly like himself. For it is this that makes true healing possible. When false, there is some power that another has, not equally bestowed on both as one. Here is the separation shown. And here, the meaning of true healing has been lost, and idols have arisen to obscure the unity that is the Son of God. Healing to separate may seem to be a strange idea, and yet it can be said of any form of healing that is based on inequality of any kind. These forms may heal the body, and indeed are generally limited to this. Somebody knows better, has been better trained, or is perhaps more talented and wise. Therefore, he can give healing to the one who stands beneath him in his patronage. The healing of the body can be done by this because in dreams, equality cannot be permanent. The shifts and change and are what the dream is made of. To be healed appears to be to find a wiser one who, by his arts and learning, will succeed. Someone knows better. This, the magic phrase by which the body seems to be the aim of healing as the world conceives of it. And to this wiser one, another goes to profit by his learning and his skill, to find in him the remedy for pain. How can that be? True healing cannot come from inequality, assumed, and then accepted as the truth, and used to help restore the wounded and to calm the mind that suffers from the agony of doubt. Is there a role for healing then that one can use to offer help for someone else? In arrogance, the answer must be no. But in humility, there is indeed a place for helpers. It is like the role that helps in prayer and lets forgiveness be what it is meant to be. You do not make yourself the bearer of the special gift that brings the healing. You but recognize your oneness with the one who calls for help. For in this oneness is his separate sense dispelled. And it is this that made him sick. There's no point in giving remedy apart from where the source of sickness is, for never thus can it be truly healed. Healers there are, for they are sons of God who recognize their source and understand that all their source creates is one with them. This is the remedy that brings relief which cannot fail. It will remain to bless for all eternity. It heals no part, but wholly and forever. Now the cause of every malady has been revealed exactly as it is. And in that place is written now the holy word of God. Sickness and separation must be healed by love and union. Nothing else can heal as God established healing. Without him, there is no healing, for there is no love. God's voice alone can tell you how to heal. Listen, and you will never fail to bring his kindly remedy to those he sends to you, to let him heal them and to bless all those who serve with him in healing's name. The body's healing will occur because its cause has gone. And now, without a cause, it cannot come again in different form. Nor will death any more be feared, because it has been understood. There is no fear in one who has been truly healed, for love has entered now where idols used to stand, and fear has given way at last to God. That is a beautiful passage.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Just to see yourself as your brother, right? To see us all united as one. I didn't shout out to Carol yet. I want to say hi, Carol. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Carol.
Guys, we've got one more section, and guess what? We're done with the book.
Oh, no.
This would have been the time we would have had a party if we were all together.
Start all over.
Start all over next week from the beginning.
First grade.
This is also a good time if anybody, anybody who's looking to start from the beginning and they're looking for a group. It's a great time to start.
Good idea.
Although I did start with a manual for teachers. That was actually much more helpful for me.
Hmm.
All right, shall we continue and read the last section of the book?
I guess.
Every time I say that, I think of it. I used to have this little book with, it was a Sesame Street book, and it was the Cookie Monster. And it said there was a monster at the end of this book, and you kept like turning pages, and Grover would go, "Don't turn the page, there's a monster at the end of the book." And it was the Cookie Monster, so kind of always reminds me of that. Whenever I finish a book, it's funny things that you remember. Carla was asking a question. She said, will you start again? Yes, Carla. We will start again from the beginning, as we always do, over and over and over again until poof, we disappear. Okay, the last section. Let me go ahead and share my screen. The holiness of healing. How holy are the healed? For in their sight, their brothers share their healing and their love. Bringers of peace, the Holy Spirit's voice, through whom he speaks for God, whose voice he is. Such are God's healers. They but speak for him and never for themselves. They have no gifts, but those they have from God. And these they share because they know that this is what he wills. They're not special. They are holy. They have chosen holiness and given up all separate dreams of special attributes through which they can bestow unequal gifts on those less fortunate. Their healing has restored their wholeness so they can forgive and join the song of prayer in which the healed sing of their union and their thanks to God. As witness to forgiveness, aid to prayer, and the effect of mercy truly taught, healing is blessing. And the world responds in quickened chorus through the voice of prayer. Forgiveness shines its merciful reprieve upon each blade of grass and feathered wing and all the living things upon the earth. Fear has no haven here, for love has come in all its holy oneness. Time remains only to let the last embrace of prayer rest on the earth an instant, as the world is shined away. This instant is the goal of all true healers, whom the Christ has taught to see his likeness and to teach like him. Think what it means to help the Christ to heal. Can anything be holier than this? God thanks his healers, for he knows the cause of healing is himself, his love, his Son, restored as his completion and returned to share with him creation's holy joy. Do not ask partial healing, nor accept an idol for remembrance of him whose love has never changed and never will. You are as dear to him as is the whole of his creation, for it lies in you as his eternal gift. What need have you for shifting dreams within a sorry world? Do not forget the gratitude of God. Do not forget the holy grace of prayer. Do not forget forgiveness of God's Son. You first forgive, then pray, and you are healed. Your prayer has risen up and called to God, who hears and answers. You have understood that you forgive and pray, but for yourself. And in this understanding, you are healed. In prayer, you have united with your source and understood that you have never left. This level cannot be attained until there is no hatred in your heart and no desire to attack the Son of God. Never forget this. It is you who are God's Son. And as you choose to be to him, so are you to yourself, and God to you. Nor will your judgment fail to reach to God, for you will give the role to him you see in his creation. Do not choose amiss, or you will think that it is you who are creator in his place, and he is then no longer cause, but only an effect. Now healing is impossible, for he is blamed for your deception and your guilt. He who is love becomes the source of fear. For only fear can now be justified. Vengeance is his great destroyer, death. And sickness, suffering, and grievous loss become the lot of everyone on earth, which he abandoned to the devil's care, swearing he will deliver it no more. Come unto me, my children, once again, without such twisted thoughts upon your hearts. You still are holy with the holiness which fathered you in perfect sinlessness, and still surrounds you with the arms of peace. Dream now of healing. Then arise and lay all dreaming down forever. You are he your Father loves, who never left his home, nor wandered in a savage world with feet that bleed and with a heavy heart made hard against the love that is the truth in you. Give all your dreams to Christ and let him be your guide to healing, leading you in prayer beyond the sorry reaches of the world. He comes for me and speaks my word to you. I would recall my weary son to me from dreams of malice to the sweet embrace of everlasting love and perfect peace. My arms are open to the son I love, who does not understand that he is healed and that his prayers have never ceased to sing his joyful thanks in unison with all creation in the holiness of love. Be still an instant. Underneath the sounds of harsh and bitter striving and defeat, there's a voice that speaks to you of me. Hear this an instant and you will be healed. Hear this an instant and you have been saved. Help me to wake my children from the dream of retribution and a little life beset with fear that ends so soon it might as well have never been. Let me instead remind you of eternity, in which your joy grows greater as your love extends along with mine, beyond infinity, where time and distance have no meaning. While you wait in sorrow, heaven's melody is incomplete, because your song is part of the eternal harmony of love. Without you is creation unfulfilled. Return to me, who never left, my son. Listen, my child, your Father calls to you. Do not refuse to hear the call for love. Do not deny to Christ what is his own. Heaven is here, and heaven is your home. Creation leans across the bars of time to lift the heavy burden from the world. Lift up your hearts to greet its advent. See the shadows fade away in gentleness. The thorns fall softly from the bleeding brow of him who is the Holy Son of God. How lovely are you, child of holiness? How like to me? How lovingly I hold you in my heart and in my arms. How dear is every gift to me that you have made, who healed my son and took him from the cross. Arise and let my thanks be given you. And with my gratitude will come the gift first of forgiveness, then eternal peace. So now return your holy voice to me. The song of prayer is silent without you. The universe is waiting your release because it is its own. Be kind to it and to yourself. And then be kind to me. I ask but this, that you be comforted and live no more in terror and in pain. Do not abandon love. Remember this, whatever you may think about yourself, whatever you may think about the world, your Father needs you and will call to you until you come to him in peace at last. Nice.
What stood out for me is without you, creation is unfulfilled. Your song is part of the eternal harmony of life, of love.
Mhm.
Yeah, beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Hmm.
It's so interesting. When I first started reading a course, the words like God and Jesus and Christ used to be like, oh, I don't like those words, you know. It took me a long, long time to get past it. And even now, sometimes I feel a little uncomfortable saying them because there's part of me that thinks, oh, other people are probably uncomfortable with those words and they're not going to understand what they mean.
Oh,
You know, because all words are but symbols of symbols. We have to undo all of that before we can actually get the goodness of the message, right? And understand it.
That reminds me of when I was 19, I'd been a member of a Baptist church as a child and left and went to the Methodist and back to the Baptist. And 19, the call came forward from the minister for those that believe. And as I went forward and all emotional, just completely transformed, went home and just stood in a bathroom that we had that I'm just like, what is this? What is this feeling? What is this power? And this presence and so forth. I didn't have those words though. And so I went back, talked with some of the elders in the church, and they came up with it. Just have faith. Just have faith. And I'm just using it as an example. The word faith to me was like, yeah, I don't know. It was like almost worthless. It was like you're giving me some kind of trite answer that I can't put stock in. There was nobody that could share that experience apparently that I'd had. So they came again and again and again. So anyway, I also have seen here how he's shifted in this last page from Christ to the voice for God.
Mm-hmm.
That speaking, that's what was that wordless knowing was what came to me. That because I'd always had that yearning. I knew there was something missing, and it was that. I will say something about the Baptists. They will get you out of your chair if you have the least little inclination. So, but it wasn't long after that I found Eastern religions and so forth. It spoke to me better. Anyway, that's all just side stuff. That call though goes out constantly. That yearning that we try to fill up with this world, and it's no substitute at all. Absolutely none. These bodies are nothing in comparison to what we really are. So anyway, thank you for allowing me to babble on.
Sure. It's interesting you bring up the Baptist church because it immediately reminds me that my friend Scott Prather gave me my first copy of my Course in Miracles book. And I still have it on my shelf. It's very damaged. Hold on, let me grab it. I want to show it to you guys. So this is my first copy of A Course in Miracles. This is the front of it.
Wow.
And you can see I taped it together so many times.
Oh my God.
And so Scott, such a nice guy. He was a Baptist minister. And I met him because he was dating my brother at the time. And I was on this, journey to find myself. And I was reading all of these spiritual books and all these authors. And he said to me, have you read A Course in Miracles? And I said, no, I don't know what that is. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. He goes, well, it talks about Christ and Jesus and God and God. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not my language. That's like nothing I would ever be interested in. He goes, no, you don't understand. It's it's really good. And once you get past all the words, I'm like, I can't get past all the words. Like,
Yeah.
that's just not my thing. Like, I don't do religion. He goes, no, you don't understand. It's not religious, da 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 da. And then he told me, he goes, you know, I was a Baptist minister and his father was Hugh Prather.
Ah, so
So Hugh was an author and writes a lot of books on A Course in Miracles. And Scott actually knew the Jampolskys and sat and, you know, he was with a lot of the people who like were in on the early phases of the Course in Miracles. And he, you know, was trying to explain it to me. And I'm like, I can't get into a book. Like if it's spirituality, that's fine. If it's religion, I'm not interested. Well, long story short, my brother and he had broken up. And then all of a sudden I get this book in the mail and it's wrapped in a brown paper bag. And it has this little Post-it note on it. And it just says, I think you're going to need this for all you're going to go through in your life. And I'm like, oh man, he sent me the book. Like the least I could do is like thumb through it. You know, he went out of his way to send me this book. So I'm like going through it. I'm like, okay, I'm reading like The Meaning of Miracles. Okay, well that, you know, that's interesting, you know, and then I'm going through like the text and I'm like, oh God, every other comment is God this, God that, Christ, Holy Spirit. I'm like, ugh, that looks terrible. You know, so then I'm like, I go to the middle of it and the lessons, I'm like, okay, nothing I see in this room means anything. All right, I could get into that. I understand that. So then I turned back to the manual for teachers and I don't know, there was something about it. I started reading it and it just was like, vroom. It started speaking my language. I read the whole thing and I thought, oh my God, I have to read this book. There's such truth and wisdom in this book. I need to understand this book. And that's when I started reading it. And that was 31 years ago. So, yeah.
So you started with the manual for teachers.
Yeah, I looked through the whole thing, but it was, the words were just like, ugh,
Yeah.
can't do it. But the manual for teachers just kind of spoke to me. I could understand. Yeah. So anyway, that's my story of A Course in Miracles within the illusion. All right. Thank you everyone for coming. I don't want to keep you because I think we are already past. Yeah, we're at 1:32. Anybody else have anything they want to share before we close?
I just went and put my bookmark back to the beginning and we started this on 12/7/20.
Wow. Good to know.
Really? 12/7/20.
That's when we started it last time.
Wow. So it's taken us 2.5 years.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
12, 7,
Yep.
20. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Another 2.5 years to go.
That's a lot, though. That's a
Well,
lot.
it's been great yes, we will start on Monday, Carla asked. We will start on Monday once again and plan a trip. Maybe we can get together and meet up somewhere. Maybe have like a little Course in Miracles reunion sometime. I think that would be fun. I know, Tim, you're in Tallahassee, which isn't too far
It's
from me. But
doable from here. And Pam,
yeah,
Pam, she's just 20 miles south of us down in Woodland.
yeah, I don't know if all you other people are interested in coming down to Florida. I know, Cynthia, you're going to be down here soon, right?
Are you moving
Soon-ish.
here, Cynthia?
I hope so.
Yeah. Cynthia's moving. Carl, you need a vacation, right? Mary and Carol.
Yeah.
There you
Circle the
go.
wagons.
Covered wagons. That's right. Right. How about you,
love it.
Carla? Where are you from?
Ohio.
Ohio. Okay, so you're up
Ah.
north too. Yeah.
So yeah, I could use a vacation.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
In the winter.
Yeah, in the winter.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, it feels like winter the past couple days. So
Oh, has it been cold? Yeah.
yeah, cold and rainy.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, it's always good to get into the Florida sunshine.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here, and it's been a
Thank
great.
you.
And I'm excited to start again, with all of you. Yay.
Yeah. Wow.
Exciting.
Yeah,
Okay.
same here.
All right, we will see you next
Awesome.
week. Back
Thank
to the
you.
beginning. All right, and don't
Okay.
forget, if you know anybody who wants to start at the beginning with us,
Yeah,
feel free to share the
I
information.
already sent out some invitations.
What's that, Mary?
I said I already sent out some invitations.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, because it's, it's a good time to start in the beginning. All
so
right,
we
guys.
should- so Terry, we should just forward that, I guess your general thing, don't forward our personal link.
Yeah,
but-
you know what I can do? I can, when I go back through, I'll probably do a separate email to everybody, letting everybody know we just finished, and I'll put a
Yeah.
link in there.
That'd be great, yeah.
I'll put a link in there. So if people want to share it with people who might be interested in starting, you can just share that.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Oh,
Okay.
All right. See you next week.
bye.
Bye.